Knicks and Bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. Got my guy Sim in the building. The Knicks is down 2-1. I don't know what's going on. Oh man. Sim, how you feeling, man? The day after.
I feel dejected, disappointed, nervous, concerned, a little scared, all of that. A lot of feelings.
A lot of feelings. And a lot to talk about, to be honest. But I wanna I don't want to just talk about everything all at once. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we gonna focus this one on Carl Anthony Towns and you know why is he not being utilized the way he should?
Right.
He's averaging 15 points in the second half, 5 points in the first half. Um, in this series, game one, that 5 points in the first half was okay because the ball was running through him. He was being a facilitator early in the game. He was affecting the game. He was engaged. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? They found a way to get him engaged even if he wasn't scoring. And then second half, obviously he came on, and that's been the case all series. Second half for Carl Anthony Towns.
Right.
Um, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you want to go right to the video, or you want to give give some.
I
What do
mean,
you think is going on with this situation?
honestly, I think this is a situation that's probably been brewing all season long. If not, stemming from last year as well. Um, you know, I don't know. I think a lot of people have always kind of seen that Brunson and Cat don't naturally click. You know what I'm saying? Two different players with maybe two different mindsets. So they don't click naturally. I'm not gonna sit here and say that they don't like each other or they hate each other or anything like that, but they don't really click. And I think that shows itself on the court in the way that they play together. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
You
I think
you
that's part of it. I think that um, maybe Mike Brown doesn't know how to deal with it. Maybe you know what I mean.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
you and I have had some conversations. You know what I mean, like behind the scenes, not on your show, not on my show. Just phone calls every now and again,
Yeah,
talking about the Knicks. And recently, I told you, I said it doesn't feel like the Knicks respect Carl Anthony Towns as a superstar or a star,
yeah,
right? And we talked about the differences between Randall here and Brunson coming,
right,
and now Brunson here and Cat coming,
right,
right? When Randall was here, he solidified himself before Brunson was even a thought, right?
right.
He grew his presence here. He made a name for himself before Brunson got here. Brunson's arrival, he had to respect that,
Mm-hmm.
right? He had to respect there was a guy here before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
Once that trade was made, you know what I mean? It kind of changed things.
Right.
Now it's Brunson's team. Now Cat has to be the guy coming in and adjusting and finding his way. And last year, it wasn't perfect. We had complaints last year about Carl Anthony Towns and his presence on the team.
Right.
But this year, it's taking a step back.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, we still got a lot of series left, right? But just looking at the way things are going with the team, I mean, there's a disconnect somewhere, right? And, it's hard to say if that disconnect is with Mike Brown and certain players, or if it's just strictly between the players. As a coach, when you recognize the disconnect between the players, it's part of your job to try to help, connect the guys, right? Get rid of that disconnect, connect the guys. Um, I don't know. And throughout the season, I felt like you can hear whispers and tea leaves of guys, just saying little things here and little things there that, pointed to a disconnect between the players. You know what I'm saying? Now, the thing about Cat is he's he's different, right? He's different. Um, he's not a natural cool guy, right? So he doesn't have that natural swagger. He's I'm sure. Yeah, I feel like Cat is a guy that really tries to fit in, but doesn't always find the group that he fits in with. You know what I'm saying? Especially in the NBA, when you have so many players that come from a certain ilk, a certain breed of person, right? He doesn't naturally fit into that, and because of that, I think he doesn't get the respect, because he doesn't naturally fit in. So I think he tries hard to fit in. I think he tries hard to be tough, to be a tough guy, but he's not actually those things. And I think that creates a disconnect with his teammates.
I have a thought about that. I'll get to that in a second. You
Mhm.
you talked about seeing signs all season long, and things showing a disconnect all season long. And one of the things that Carl Anthony Towns has mentioned and said multiple times throughout the season is him not understanding his role, not really. It was not a comfort thing, but trying to find a comfort zone and
Right,
trying to find his way in his role, and,
right.
and, and being a star in his role. Like we've heard that 3 4 times this year from him. Sometimes we've criticized him about it. You
Mhm.
know what I mean, and made it a him thing. And sometimes we talked about it as far as like, all right, Mike Brown needs to figure that out. And then on the flip side, we've heard Mike Brown multiple times this year specifically say he's made changes to help Cat.
Right,
We've never heard him say that about anyone else,
right.
right? And again, it's two ways you could look at that. You could look at that as Mike Brown trying to find the answers and trying to insert Cat into the system or whatever. Or you could look at it as him singling out Cat as he's the only guy I gotta make adjustments for.
Make adjustments. Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I'm torn on how I view it. And again, this goes back to things we've talked about all year. When we talked about getting him the ball, is it his? Is it up to him to demand the ball, break the offense
hmm,
if the play is not for him, or is it up to Brunson? Is it up to Mike Brown? So it's conflicting, but the fact still remains there has been a disconnect all year,
yeah,
and more so this year than last year, because there was a disconnect last year, but his performance was much more impactful.
right, right. And
I
then,
don't. Go ahead.
we talked about it earlier too, though. Like, there's also the fact that here we go. Going back to the Tibbs stuff again, but that Tibbs was okay, familiar with Brunson, but also familiar with Carl Anthony Towns, right? Because he coached him. You know what I mean? So now there was Tibbs already knew Carl Anthony Towns' personality. You know what I mean? And so now he could come into coachings, knowing that he was getting Carl Anthony Towns to say, all right, I know with Cat, I got to approach him this way. Uh, you know, his player, his teammates, I may need to address certain things with his teammates about him. You know what I mean? Because he was familiar with him already, and so Cat was familiar with him, even if they didn't have a great relationship then. Sometimes when you come back together, still, there's a respect there. You know what I'm saying? That you understand how each other works, and I don't know. I don't. It seems like Mike Brown doesn't really respect him as that all-star type player. You know what I mean? He mentioned in the last press conference, he said, what did he say? He said, Carl Anthony Towns is a multiple time All Star. I don't need to tell him every game to be aggressive,
And
right?
you've had a strong stance on that.
Yeah, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. That's just that. If that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? You're the coach, especially right now. It's not a time to teach a lesson. It's not that, hey, see, you didn't step up and be aggressive, so we got eliminated. No, that's it's not the time to teach a lesson. Now you got to do whatever it is that you have to do to make sure that your players are ready. I mean, I understand what he's trying to say, but this is the wrong time to teach a lesson if that's what he's trying to do. I think that
And to me, that's trying to relieve yourself of accountability.
yeah, that does.
That's putting the onus on the player where you got to take, like you said, you are the coach, you are the de facto leader of the team.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Take the lead.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, I'm not saying anything is wrong with Cat's personality. It's different than probably most players in the league. You know what I'm saying? And so, he may not mix well with a lot of players that's in this basketball league. If he was overseas, it might be different, right? But the way that it is in this league, he may not mix well with some of the players in this league. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have the um alpha dog mentality. But when you have the type of talent that he has, in order for him to be great, you probably need a little bit of it. In order for him to be, the guy that people want to throw the ball to, are going to throw the ball to, you got to have a little bit of it. And, he doesn't necessarily have that. And I think it hurts him a little bit for sure. You know,
That's interesting.
and then
Alpha is not gonna pass it to a non-alpha, right?
that's true.
An
That's true.
alpha's not gonna defer to a non-alpha.
Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? And that alpha, here's the crazy part. As a player, you might know on the floor who's got the most talent. But in the locker room, you know who's got the alpha mentality. And unfortunately, that's going to play itself out on the floor. You know what I'm saying? Because the guy with the alpha mentality is going to be like, okay, I got to take it upon myself because this dude is floating over in the corner. He don't even want the ball. He got all his talent, but he doesn't want the ball. So I'm not going to give it to him. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't feel confident that he's going to be able to do something with it. You know what I mean? So part of it is on Cat. Like Cat has to step up and just be figure out how to be more demanding. You know what I mean?
Is
And
there is there a middle ground? Is there a middle ground? Like, and I always refer back to this, and I say that because he's been the number one guy on a team before,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that role is not like it's unfamiliar to him. And when he wasn't, I don't know if it was him relinquishing the role or if it was just understanding. Okay, I'm or somebody taking it. Let's say that as
Yeah.
referred to relinquishing it.
Yeah.
And
Um.
then we go back to that conversation we had before where he's coming into the team where
Right.
Brunson, you know what I mean, where Brunson is the guy.
Right. Right.
Brunson came here and he couldn't just come in and take over and
Right.
say this is my team
Right.
because the whose team it was established prior to him.
Right.
But now we make that trade and move Randall. It's Brunson's
It's
team.
Brunson's team.
How do I come in and like even if he was the alpha, right? Mentality that could be detrimental,
Yeah.
bumping heads. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Now, if everybody acknowledges, and again, this is for me personally, this is for this series. But if you acknowledge for this series, we need you to be the best guy.
Yeah.
That has to come from his team. Like everybody has to say that.
Yeah.
And then I think he can accept it. He's not gonna say that I gotta be the. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's where I think, and again, that's part of his mentality.
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna be like, oh, I gotta be the best guy. But collectively, I see it. I think you see it. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the fan base
Everybody
sees it.
sees it.
For this series, he has to be the dominant guy.
Yeah.
How does
He
your
has to be
teammates
the
not see
dominant
that?
guy.
And your teammates, your coach, they have to encourage that. They gotta
Encourage that.
enforce that. They
Right.
gotta impose like this is what we need. It might
Right.
not be that next season, next series.
Next series. Yeah.
So that's where I get, you know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to not put any blame on him or even accepting, all right, maybe this is not his personality, but the guys around him, the coach, the teammates, they gotta see that and acknowledge it
Yeah.
and
I
enforce
agree.
it.
I agree. I agree 100%. Like they gotta, they gotta put the other stuff aside and just think in basketball terms. You know what I'm saying? And in basketball terms, he should be the best player on the floor in this series. You know what I'm saying? He should be dominating this series. It's just I feel like sometimes, if it's not something that you've been doing all along, then it gets a little bit tougher to do it when you need to do it, right? Because you're just not in the habit of doing it. And so when things get, maybe you can do it for a little bit, but when things get tight, like we always saying, you know, when when you get stressed, you're gonna go back to your habits. Yeah, I don't know, but I do think that the team, they the coaches, the team, the coaches, when not the team, but the coaching staff, it doesn't feel as though they've treated Cat like a star, though. And if they're not going to treat Cat like a star, why will the players? Why will his teammates defer
And
to
why
him in
why
that
would
moment?
he overstep?
And why would he overstep? Right.
Because to me, it's kind of been disrespectful, and
Yeah.
I've said it since last year. You know what I mean? To a lesser degree last year, but this year it regressed and
Yeah.
it's become more blatant
Hmm.
and yeah, like I don't think they respect him for the player he is
Right.
or for the talent he has.
Right. And think about this, right? You mentioned how Brunson came, and Randall was already here, right? Randall was already an All NBA player when Brunson got here. But when Brunson started to, first of all, he came in, his dad is a coach. Tibbs, knows him, blah, 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 blah. Leon Rose was his
Right, his
dad's
shit. Yep.
first agent, all that shit, right? So he already came in and had some star treatment, even though he wasn't a star yet. He already came in with some star treatment. Then obviously he started playing and he proved that he was
Earning
the
it.
closer on the team and he earned it, right? But then he took that mantle right away from Julius Randle. Just like that. You know what I'm saying? He took the mantle away from him. And maybe he didn't even try to. It's just his demeanor, right? His personality. You know what I'm saying? He kind of like exudes leadership. You know what I mean? People respect him already. But the organization also treated him that way. You know what I mean? When they realized like, oh shit, like this guy is an all NBA guy, they treated him that way. All of a sudden, despite Randall going through all of the battles and taking all the wounds for everybody, Brunson's the captain. Not even a co-captain with
Not
Randall.
even a co-captain. Yep.
Not even a co-captain. Brunson's the captain. You know what I'm saying? And he and then they have a whole freaking ceremony to label him the captain. A whole ceremony to label him the captain. It's like that star treatment, right?
And emphasized the last time we had a co-captain and who they were, or pardon me, the last time the title of captain was given, which I didn't even realize there's not a captain every year
Right.
on the team. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. I assumed that title was given out at some point every season.
Yeah.
That is not the case. Very interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they emphasized it. They made it known.
Yeah. That and sorry, I didn't mean for that to pop in there. I was trying to do something,
We,
and I got a double me pop in there. My bad. I'll get it out.
good. Executive producing it.
you know. So I mean, damn, I'm tripping. Okay.
Sherwin said Randall wasn't here when Brunson was named captain. Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
He was injured,
He was here.
but he was here.
He was definitely here when Brunson was named captain. He was definitely here. You know. Um. And I mean, we're saying all that to say, you know, it's possible to come to a team when somebody else is there and kind of take over the mantle, or not even take over the mantle, but
Go lead.
establish yourself as one of the leaders. And it takes the player, it takes the teammates, and it also takes the organization. You know what I mean? And they haven't treated Cat that way. It doesn't feel like they've treated Cat that way.
No,
You know?
I agree 100%. I kind of been saying it in the background for a while, and it frustrates me.
Yeah.
It frustrates me because to me, I told you one of my biggest pet peeves as a Knicks fan is when I feel like a an important player on the team is being disrespected,
Right.
undervalued. You know
Right.
what I mean? We could go case by case, but that's another show in itself. But they've done that as a Knicks organization over the years, and it's always been one of the biggest things that bother me. And I feel like they're doing it again right now.
Hmm.
And it goes back to another thing that I said earlier. I wasn't a fan of Cat prior to him coming here.
Right.
He made me a fan, to be honest, based off of me watching him perform for us
Hmm.
last year in particular. But even when you know what I mean, when there was talks about trading for him, I was never one of the people that wanted it. But my thought process was, if they traded Randall for Cat, it's because Cat will be a bigger draw for a bigger fish than Randall would be. You know
Right.
what I mean? If you're going after, Giannis or whomever, it probably would be easier to move Cat for Randall or find a way to move Cat for Giannis than Randall for Giannis. And,
Right.
and, and I think that's why the organization made that trade. And it wasn't because they valued Cat for the organization.
Right.
So I've always felt that way, and it seems to be playing out that way. Like,
Hmm.
to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
I just wanna, Sherwin is saying, Randall wasn't here and he threw out, the date, August 6th is when Brunson was named captain. Randall was traded September 27th, 2024. So a whole month, almost a month and a half after Brunson was named the captain. So
which was like
yeah,
more writing on the wall at the
yeah,
time.
right. So, yeah, Randall was here. It was definitely here. You know, I don't know, man. I don't know how and if it changes either, to be honest with you.
Um, that I I I think it could change.
Hmm.
But I don't know how. I can't give you the blueprint on how it would change. It would
Yeah.
have to be number one. It would have to be someone coming to the realization, whether it's the current coach, the next coach, um, a um collective agreement between the players and
Yeah.
an acknowledgement amongst the players. I mean, those are the only ways I could see it changing.
Maybe it's
But
maybe it's maybe it's gonna take Cat knocking the laptop out of one of the coach's hands, giving a thumbs
well,
down to the crowd. You know what I'm saying? Letting his
I
hair get
mean,
nappy.
I, I
You know
mean,
what I mean?
we know how that we know the reception to that. We know how people reacted to that. So I wouldn't recommend that per se. You know what I mean? But I
I
feel
mean,
what you're saying.
but you know what? But he might get a little more respect though.
That's true.
He
That's
might get
true.
a little bit more respect.
That's a
You know
hundred
what I'm
percent
saying?
true because it'd be unexpected.
Yeah,
It
because
it,
Cat
it
always politically correct, right? When he's saying things, always politically correct. He's always gonna say the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's expected. I think when he finally shows some anger, not at the referees, right? But when he finally shows some anger and is pissed off at his team, you know what I'm saying? And is barking at his team and is barking at the fans and maybe even barking at the coach, the people that say, oh, okay,
hmm
now the lion is here. You know what I'm saying? Um, now the lion is here. Until then, though, coaching staff has to be smart and understand that he's our best player in this series. You know what I'm saying? They don't have the size to stop him. The guy can put the ball on the floor, he can shoot the three. And with these guys, he can post up and score in the post. 17 rebounds last game. He can dominate the glass. You know what I
Quiet
mean?
17 too.
Yeah, quiet 17. You know what I'm saying? And he's grabbing these kind of rebounds because he's got to grab offensive rebounds because he's not getting the ball to score. 12 shot attempts.
Shout out to Josh, formerly known as Uncle Fulio. He said, "This is why I had a problem with the Knicks starting possessions with Cat at the top of the key in the first game. Y'all was for it because we won, but I saw the dangerous a percentage a
Precedent.
precedent it was gonna set. Um,
What was the precedent that it set, though?
and who, you, I had a problem with it as well. I don't know if you addressed it at all, Sim. But Josh, you've been saying, like, to your credit, you've been saying this from game one, game two, game three. I agree. You've been saying that. But is that a Cat thing? Is that a Mike Brown thing? Like,
Yeah, but see the thing, right? He says, you know, we didn't have a problem with it in game one, but he saw how dangerous it could be. See, to me, it's not the fact that he's out at the 3-point line. It's the fact that they're not giving him the ball to allow other people to move off of him. It's not. It happened in game one, right? He'd get the ball, top of the key. You know what I'm saying? And then guys can cut off of him. He was finding Brunson. He was finding OG. He was finding cutters to the basket. It's not happening now, right? It's not happening now. Cat is 7 foot. If you give him the ball at the elbow and expect him to be able to pass the cutters, that's going to be turnover city because it's too close. We're talking about 7-footers and 6'7" and 6'8" guys. We're not talking about the tallest guy is 6'2", right? We're talking about a 7-footer. And then you got other 6'8", 6'9" guys out there on the floor. So you got to have more space, right? If you're standing on the court, let's put it like this. We know the court as regular sized human beings, right? And so we step on a high school court and we're at the elbow, maybe a little bit back from the elbow, and someone cuts to the basket. Oh, nice pass. And there's space, right? Well, for someone like Cat, the top of the key is like the elbow to us. In the NBA, the top of the key is like the elbow. That's why the 3-point line is farther back. In the NBA, the top of the key is like the elbow to them. You understand what I'm saying? Because they're so long. They're so tall. He's 7 foot. Now, if he's going to pass the ball to a cutting 6'8" OG Anunoby, he's not going to do it from the elbow. I'm sorry. That's, because then you got another 6'8" guy guarding OG. You got a 6'10" guy guarding Cat. It's too cramped. That's the reason why it's out there at the top of the key. So that there could be space for guys to cut to the basket. My problem is they're not getting them the ball there and then running action off of it. Because it worked in
and
the
I
first game.
and I wasn't arguing with Josh. I think both things, two things can be true. Because I think
Mhm.
a lot of times, or not even a lot, but too many times, Cat has the ball 3 feet away from the 3 point, 3 feet back from the 3 point line. If he's starting at the 3 point line, I agree with you, Sim. He has the height, the size, the vision to make those passes. I also think too many times it's like 3 feet behind the three
I,
point line.
I agree
You,
with that.
you know what I mean? Where I don't want him shooting from there. You know what I mean? I don't want him passing from there per se.
Yeah.
So I think both can be true. I don't know how much of an emphasis I would have put on that because I don't think it was every possession, night in and night out.
Yeah.
It was
And Josh,
plenty times though.
Josh, in game one, right, you said scoring is the emphasis for Cat, which I agree. In game one, he had 25 points, right? He took 4 threes, 4, which means everything else was mid range and below. All right. So 9 of those 13 shots were mid range and below. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And he still got that by being the facilitator on the floor. He still got his 25 points. More shot attempts might have been nice, but we won the game, and we won it by, double digit margin. Right. We shot the ball 47% from the field. And he still was able to score inside. right? As a matter of fact, looking at the shot chart in game one, he took one, two, three, four shots from outside of the paint. He made three threes and he missed one. The rest of his shots were inside the paint. Inside the paint. I'm not talking about, where the little box is. I'm saying inside the paint. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine shots inside the paint. Right? While he was still, got the ball at the top of the key. Why did that happen? Because him getting the ball out there opened the floor up for him. Right? Because when he was able to get others involved, Brunson had 17 points in the first quarter. Right?
19.
Now, guess what? Now, you know what? Let me back up a little bit playing the passing lane. Now Cat has some room to go to work. You know what I'm saying? Now you've already loosened up Okongwu, whoever's guarding him. Now Cat can get in the post. Let me get a little bit. Boom. Take him off the dribble. Boom. Go to the basket. Right? Because now they got to loosen up because he's finding people cutting. So now they're like, we got to play the passing lanes. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention Brunson don't have to work as hard. So I think it's a very, very good philosophy in this series because you can utilize Cat in both ways. They can't stop him going to the basket. When he decides to go to the basket, they can't stop him. He's too big and too strong. You know what I'm saying? And then he can get his occasional, he can get his post ups. But it gets Cat in rhythm. It keeps him touching the ball on every possession, and it keeps the team used to giving him the ball on every possession. So now when it's time for him to get into the post, it's not strange to them. You know what I'm saying? That's the way I'm seeing it, Josh. That's the way that I'm seeing it. You know what I mean?
Hold on, let me throw this. Let me throw this in there. Um, he says, "Well, now it's not working. They should
because
look
they're
for
not
Cat
doing it.
early in the post and go about it that way." And again, I think both of you are right. To be honest, so 100%. I think they've gone away from that. We haven't seen it since the first game.
We haven't seen it.
To
Yeah.
be honest, like let's be 100% real. But I think to Josh's point, when you talk about him averaging 5 points in the first half in the series and 15 in the second half,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they need to look to him early as an offensive threat. You know what I mean? Back to our original point.
I feel like he's still an offensive threat when when they're playing through him. I feel like he's still an offensive threat.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Because he can penetrate to the basket, but he can also pass. You know what I mean? So I feel that makes him an offensive threat. And like you were saying before, it allows other people, it opens up other people early. You know what I'm saying? It opens them up early. Um, and that first game to me was the formula. We haven't gone back to it since. That was the formula to beating this team. And I felt like Mike Brown adjusted out of it, trying to one up the Atlanta Hawks. So he adjusted out of it in game two. Like, you don't adjust out of it, in my opinion, until
Until they stop it.
they stop it.
Until and we talked about before game two.
Before game two, we
We
talked
talked
about it.
about the potential of adjusting before you're trying to make an adjustment before anticipating their adjustment. You know what I mean? Before they even do anything and show you what they're doing and stop what you're doing, you're
Yeah,
gonna make it. You're gonna make a change. So
yeah,
I do think that is 100% fair and
yeah.
accurate because they have not went back to that formula.
They haven't went
I
back to
agree.
it.
Cat is a threat in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
My my only my only push or my only like agreement alignment with Josh was the fact that he hasn't been scoring early in the games.
Right.
So you know what I mean. So I think both things could be true because we need if he's active scoring in early, now they have to adjust.
Yeah. I mean, if he's getting the ball, like that's an adjustment that you could have made.
Mm-hmm.
We're still gonna run it through him, but take your shot go to the basket a little bit more from that spot. You know what I'm saying? Or go to the basket a little bit more. Let's run some pick and roll. Let's get you going to the basket. We'll throw you in the post, a couple of possessions as well. You know what I'm saying? Obviously you're not doing it every single time, but for the most part, game two, Cat took 12 shots. One, two, three, four, five of them was outside the arc. Seven of them was inside the paint. When I say inside the paint, in this, I'm looking at it inside the little
Literally,
the little
put
circle.
putbacks, most of them.
Yeah, the little circle inside. I mean, I think we just got to run it through Cat. We got to run it through Cat. Brunson is dribbling too much. Like Cat doesn't dribble when he has the ball out there, right? He doesn't dribble unless he's going to the basket. This allows, we talked about this before, this allows people to cut. Once somebody starts dribbling, you can't really cut because what you do, how you move, where you go is based off the ball
The
handler,
dribbler.
right? So if you cut and then the ball handler decides to go that way, you're in the ball handler's way. See, Cat, when he has the ball out there, he's holding it and he's
He's
facing
reading.
up and he's reading, right? And then he can make a pass, someone curls around him, whatever it is. Once somebody starts dribbling, you're kind of stuck there until they make a decision on what they're going to do with the ball. You know what I mean? And right now we're stagnant. We are super stagnant. You know what I'm saying? So Josh, I think, I agree with you that we need to get Cat inside a little bit more. But if we go back to what we were doing in game one, running the offense through him, he'll get the ball and he'll get his shots inside because he did in game one. You know? Yeah.
Let, let, let's get to the video, Sam, and, and,
Yeah.
and and break that down so we could get out of here.
Yeah. And
It's
the
been
top
a
of the
good
key,
it's been a
Josh,
good talk though.
yeah. And Josh, the top of the key is a 20-foot dribble drive. A 30-foot dribble drive is like
It's
almost
around
half
the
court.
arc.
Yeah, that's like almost half court. Come on. Know the length of your court, Josh. Know the length of your court. 30, I mean, that's almost half court. Almost, I mean, the foul line is 15 feet from the basket. Another
and,
5 feet is at the top of the key.
and to your point, Josh, when he gets it 30 feet away from the rim, he's either gonna shoot it, which he's done twice in the series, or he's giving the ball up. He's not driving from 30 feet.
Yeah. Come
Just a
on.
little exaggeration.
You say you know what I mean? Yeah. All right. You want to let's
Tell y'all something right now.
you
Change is
start off
coming to New
already. Calm down, Steven.
Dang.
Calm down. All right, you want to go ahead and listen in?
Yeah. Let's go.
Just listen in. Then we'll stop at what we need to.
York City. It's going to be another head coach in New York City if they lose this series. Several players are going to be gone from New York City. Y'all lose this game. Y'all go ahead and lose this game. Y'all go ahead and lose this series, New York Knicks. You're just a bunch of sorry asses right now. I'm so sick of what I'm seeing right now. I'm losing my damn mind. There have been 6 games against the Atlanta Hawks this year. 4 have come down to 1 possession. They got all the confidence in the world. Fourth quarter, the last 2 games, they shooting damn near 60% from the field. New York Knicks in the 30s. How that happened? Didn't happen when Tom Thibodeau was the head coach. That's right, Mike Brown, I'm saying something. Because I love Mike Brown, but I'm very, very unhappy right now. The New York Knicks are stinking up the joint. Mikal Bridges, Leon Rose, the honeymoon's over, dog. The honeymoon's over. Enough of all of this basketball purgatory before you arrived. You were doing well, and then you messed up. And why'd you mess up? Because Jalen Brunson gave you a good thing because he signed a contract a year before that he had to, saving you about $114 million so you could go out and get his boy from Villanova with Mikal Bridges, which we don't mind because he's an Iron Man, because he's reliable, because he's elite defensively, and he's going to show up night in and night out and give you effort. What we didn't expect you to do was give up 5-year first round picks for him, 4 unprotected. And then a game like this against the Atlanta Hawks, not the Boston Celtics. Not
Let's start with the Mike Brown part, the Leon Rose part. First of all, when I sent you the clip, the first thing you said was, "I agree with everything Stephen A. said."
Everything.
Which is not a normal, you know what I mean, a normal reaction for us watching Stephen A.
Yeah.
You or I.
Yeah. Everything. From the stuff with Mike Brown. With the way that this series, listen, I've been saying, that if the Knicks get eliminated and don't make it to the finals, that Mike Brown should move on. First round is something different, though, for me. First round is something different. That's different. Way different. You know what I'm saying? That's way different. I agree. I think if the Knicks get eliminated in this round, in the first round to the Hawks, it's going to be heads rolling. Mike Brown's gone, Leon Rose is gone, World Wide West is gone. I think they're gone. James Dolan will keep somebody around. That's kind of what he does. And, Rick will probably still be there. Somebody else will be there in the front office, right? He keeps somebody around either to have his eyes and ears there or for some consistency. One of the two, but he'll keep somebody around. You know what I'm saying?
In my opinion,
Yeah.
in all honesty, like, it's more of an indictment on Leon Rose than it is Mike Brown. Mike Brown inherited this team of expectation,
Mm-hmm.
right? Pressure on him,
Mm-hmm.
expectation on him to exceed what the previous coach did. So
Right.
he came in with a bar already set, a
Very
high
true.
bar. You know what I
Super
mean?
bar. Yeah. Super bar set.
So again, and everybody knows I was a Thibodeau fan. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't think he should have got fired. But that aside, Mike Brown he came in here in an unfair situation. You know what I mean? Where you only have this bar to reach, or it's unsuccessful.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long they would, how many chances they would give him to exceed it. Now,
Yeah.
if he got to the finals, if he got to the conference finals, maybe you give him another look.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point, first round exit, heads will roll. Or to
Yeah.
Stephen A's point, heads will roll.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It is very tough on Mike Brown because he came into a team that had an established culture, right? An established culture built by Tom Thibodeau, standards built by Tom Thibodeau, and now he had to come in to something that was already built and try to implement what he thought was what he thinks is going to work with the team. Which is, that's very hard because this culture wasn't built in 1 year. This is a 4-year job, right? These are things that had become habit to this basketball team. You know what I'm saying? That now he's changing, right? So, that it definitely makes it difficult, very difficult And your philosophies have to be. You've got to be a transformational person, right? You know, you've got to be, and he doesn't strike me as that. Phil Jackson strikes me as a transformational person, right? That can come in and transform your mindset, right? Mike Brown doesn't strike me as that kind of a guy, and maybe Phil Jackson wouldn't do that today because there's such a generation gap. You know what I mean? But back in the day, he could because the generation gap was smaller, so he could relate a little bit better to the players and so on, right? I don't know that Mike Brown was that transformational type of a guy. I would say Tibbs is kind of that transformational type of
I,
a guy.
I was just about to say that or ask that because I
Hmm.
agree. But the proof is in the pudding. It's not like you know what I mean. Like I don't know if I would have had that thought before living through the Tibbs era.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I've seen it, so I don't think anybody could tell me anything different because
Yeah.
I've seen the team embodied his philosophy. You knew what you was getting night in and night out, year
Yep.
in and year out.
Yep. And there was a structure that Tibbs had, right? And for the people that don't like Tibbs, um, I'm saying this in not in support or against Tibbs. All I'm saying is the structure that he had, well, it was very structured, right? So much so that people, would say it's too predictable. Players knew what time they were going in the game. Players knew what time they were coming out of the game, right? You could live by it. You know what I mean? And there would be, there was some fluctuation, but for the most part, they knew what time they were going and what time they were coming out. They knew exactly what their role was. Um, you know what I mean? Emmanuel quickly kind of said it the best, I think, when he wrote his letter leaving New York. He said he was maybe a preseason game, he dropped 30,
Mm.
right? So all along in practice, he was in a green jersey, right? In a green jersey. Couldn't get a blue one, couldn't get a white one. He goes into a preseason game, drops 30. He comes back to practice like, oh, yeah, I'm damn sure getting one of these other jerseys now. Hell no. He goes right back to the green jersey. And he's like, what's going on? Like that's the structure that Tom's okay. Yeah, you did that, but you still didn't prove nothing. That was a preseason game. Get back on the practice squad. That's the structure that Tom Thibodeau has. So you're dealing with a team who's, most of the players had a good dose of Tom Thibodeau's structure. So that's the standards that they had. That's the culture that they had. And now here comes Mike Brown with a team that's been doing this for years, and now he's maybe a little looser, right? Um, Not as structured, but the
Not
team
as
is used to being
disciplined.
structured, not as disciplined. You know what I'm saying? Now, if Mike Brown would have built the culture over 4 years in that style, and then say Tom Thibodeau came in with his structure, you know, it might not have worked either. You know what I'm saying? So like now Mike Brown is dealing with a team that's very structured. Well, was a team that was very structured, very disciplined. Um, had, certain standards that they had to live up to even in the off season. And then he comes in and, he's implementing a looser style. And it's tough.
Here's the thing though. Two things. Why haven't the players been able to hold on to some of that discipline? Hold on to some of that. You know what I mean? Like it don't feel like none of that really stick.
Yeah.
You,
I think
you know
it's
what I
kind of
mean?
like, I don't know if I want to use that example. I mean, it is late.
Go ahead, man. It's my channel, so don't let
It's
it.
kind of like the chick that was sheltered her whole life, and then now she's in
And now
college.
go to college. Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me chill. Let me chill. My baby about to go to go away next year. Let me chill out. Let me chill out, bro.
You know what I'm saying? You know, it's kind of like that a little bit.
But I
You know
know
what
who
I
you
mean?
talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that a little bit. And you know, and so you lose, you lose some of it. Like you're a little free. So like, okay, let me, we can do this now. I can do that now. Um, Instead of like, my job is to just catch the ball and run on the fast break. Okay, that's what coach wants me to do.
Mm.
Oh, Mike Brown said I can try to post up. Well, all right, let me try to post up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I get like Mike Brown's job was to try to open up some of these guys offensively,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that was his philosophy to say, okay, I'm going to, give these guys more freedom. Although a lot of the guys said Tom Thibodeau gave you freedom to do what you wanted on the offensive side, I still think that there was, some standards that they had to go by. You know what I mean? Well, it seems like Mike Brown gives them, a little bit more freedom on the offensive side of the floor, but without the structure. So I don't know.
And if that's the case, why hasn't Cat been unlocked? Why hasn't
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if somebody's been unlocked, it felt like Mikal was gonna be the guy, right?
Right.
To start the year. It felt
Right.
like Mikal and Deuce was the guys benefiting the most from Mike Brown's arrival.
Right.
It felt that way. I think Deuce still had a career year for him. So he's still in that mode. We're not gonna even really deep dive into Mikal because that's a whole nother show. But Mikal has not.
Yeah.
But
You
you
know,
can I could say OG has shown growth. I don't know if that's a direct result of Mike Brown's arrival
or
or
if
if
it
that's just a natural maturation. You,
right.
you know what I mean? But Cat, he wasn't unlocked. We didn't see a next level for him. You know what I mean? Um,
So and I know this, Hawks fan here. He said, this is what the players wanted. They didn't want structure, right? And there was a lot of some complaining about Macau, right? About rotations, and obviously some of the players complained to Leon Rose about tips. And so it would seemingly seem like, they wanted less structure. You know, what gets me, and I guess we can get off of Tiz, but Stephen A. Smith, I think, is going to bring Tiz back up. But what gets me is that nobody trusted Tom Thibodeau in his assessment of the team to say, this is how we've got to maximize our team. This style of play is what maximizes us. Nobody trusted his assessment in that way.
and Sim, how do you not?
Right.
Again, when you say the proof
Right.
is in the pudding, how do you not
Yeah.
trust what he like? That was the
Right.
thing about him not bending or folding in his philosophy
Right.
because the proof was in the pudding.
Proof was in the pudding. It's there. Right. How do you not trust it? You know what I'm saying? The proof was there. And if you actually go back, to his years as a coach, he's been able to use different styles, right? He's used the triangle. He's used Joakim Noah as a passer. You know what I'm saying? When Joakim Noah is not even a scorer, but he recognized this guy can pass the ball. Used him as a passer. You know what I mean? So how can you not trust what he's done? And trust his assessment of the team, because he's always been a guy that's been able to maximize his basketball teams. He didn't win a championship, right? But guess what? No coach in the NBA has won a championship until they did. You know what I mean? Look how long it took Larry Brown to win a championship. He got the right team together and he won a championship. You know, yeah, it's kind of tough because there's a lot of people now missing Tom Thibodeau.
A lot of people missing him that didn't even champion him when he was here, or actually wanted him gone.
Right, right, right. A lot of people missing him. And you want to hear some more? Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, not the Detroit Pistons, not the Oklahoma City Thunder, not the Los Angeles Lakers, not the Denver Nuggets, not the Minnesota Timberwolves, not the San Antonio Spurs, against the Atlanta Hawks. Mikal Bridges is scoreless. I'm looking at a bunch of zeros, a bunch of donuts all over the place. Let's look at it, okay? Game 3, all right? 4 turnovers, 3 shot attempts, 2 assists, 1 rebound, no free throws, no points, no steals, no blocks. That's why we gave up 5 first-round picks. That's why we don't have Giannis Antetokounmpo as a member of the New York Knicks right now, because we don't have assets. The honeymoon's over. The honeymoon, Worldwide West, you too. Damn it, and you know I love you, you're my boy. The honeymoon is over, okay? It's over. This is unacceptable. This is the first round of the playoffs. Last year we saw y'all 2 games away from an NBA Finals. Ain't nobody tell you to go out there and fire Tom Thibodeau, but you did it anyway. Because the players is a little bit rough on them, a little bit too stubborn. Now, I don't know whether it was Leon Rose or whether it was that damn James Dolan, or whether it was Worldwide West or the combination or the players. Right now, y'all are on the verge of going home. You can't lose game 4. You can't go down 3-1 to the Atlanta Hawks. Jalen Brunson, what's up? What's up? Last 2 offensive possessions, that's on you, dog. That was you. You understand what I'm saying? The air ball, the shot that you took, driving into the baseline, going to your left. You understand, from the right baseline, throwing the ball, turning the ball over. Josh Hart, you missed the 2 points in 40 minutes. What's up? What's up? This is Atlanta Hawks. Now, I understand they're a good young team. And I understand they aren't up and coming, but they ain't there yet. You ain't supposed to be losing a game like this. This is ridiculous. The fact of the matter is, the New York Knicks are a disappointment. The bottom line is they don't look anything like a championship team. They are on the verge of losing in the first round. We ain't even getting to Boston, getting your asses back for what you did to them last year. You ain't going to even get to Boston the way that you looking right now. One minute you're up 14, you're losing a game. Another minute you're down 18, you come back, you're still losing a game. You're inventing new ways to lose. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. And if the New York Knicks lose this series, if they lose this series, heads need to roll. I'm telling you that right now. I'm sick and tired of that damn Leon Rose and riding the coattails of past purgatory, acting like you the savior. Guess what? You were doing a good job until you messed up by giving up 5 first-round picks, which were for a non-all-star, which was inexcusable. Mikal Bridges, you're not a scrub, but damn it, you ain't looking too far from one the way you performing in this series. What's up? It's $150 million. $150 million. That's what you get paid. And we good with that. The money's fine. But 5 first-round picks, this is unacceptable. The New York Knicks don't look good. They don't seem to have the damn act together. They're down 2-1. They're on the verge of being down 3-1. And they're on the verge of losing this damn series. You got to win game 4. You got to win game 4. You don't win game 4, you losing this damn series. Janae, go ahead. Because I'm scared of what else I'm going to say, because I'm about to call for people to be fired. I'm serious. This is really, really bad. This is very bad. Go ahead.
I mean,
I don't want to talk about Mikal. So if you got Mikal thoughts, you can go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really have any Mikal thoughts, because here's the only thought that I'll say. The second half of the season, I feel like we've just seen this the entire second half of the season. You know, Bridges fell into his role on this basketball team, and that's that. That's really all I can say. He fell into his Every team's going to be different. They're going to have people are going to have their own roles, and this is his role on this team. There's going to be an occasional game. There'll be one or two games where he plays really, really well. I think throughout these playoffs. But I'm not expecting it on a nightly basis. I'm expecting now 10 points or less on a nightly basis.
bro, bro. He came in last year and had a bad year. How do you regress?
Yeah, you know, I hate to do this. I hate to do this. I really do. I hate to do this and keep harping on this. But the stubbornness that Tom Thibodeau brings to a team permeates throughout your players. The mental toughness, you know what I'm saying? All of that. It permeates. It permeates throughout. Tom Thibodeau was the type. You know what? These are my 8 guys. These are my 9 guys, and I'm rocking with them. Okay, he ain't playing well. There's other ways to affect the game. How many times did you hear Tom Thibodeau say that? You cannot shoot well and still affect the game. You cannot
And
shoot well and still play a good basketball game. That mentality goes into a player.
exactly, exactly. You start to believe it.
Yeah,
You start
yeah.
to believe it and say, guess what? I'm not shooting the ball well, but I'm going to impact the game
I'm going
in
to
this
impact
way, in
exactly,
that way.
exactly, exactly. I'm going to impact the game like that permeates a player and just brings this stubbornness and tough mindedness to the game. And I feel like we lost that with Mike Brown. You know what I'm saying? And maybe for a player like McCall, he needs that person, even though he might have been mad at Tiz for playing all these minutes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? He needs that. He needs that person that's like, yo, get your shit together. Get in the gym, shoot, but find a way to affect the game some other way. Play defense, get a block, get some rebounds, get some assists, do something else until your shot comes around. You know what I'm saying? Um, with Mike Brown, it's kind of like, I'm not worried about McCall. He'll get it together. You know,
When, when,
right? You win. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I feel like that has an effect. That has a big effect. You know what I'm saying? That has a big effect. Me and Josh agree. Me and Josh agree on this. Um, I feel like that has a big effect on this team. You know what I'm saying? And just having that will to find a way to get myself back on rhythm, to get to just get the win no matter what, no matter how it looks, no matter how it feels, just get it. And I felt like it was going to have an effect right from the beginning of the season, but we can get into that.
and Jamrock, the reason I say I don't want to talk about McCall is because it's not because I'm defending him. I know he's playing like crap. I'm saving my true, like, all my energy for a whole episode just for him. so
Yeah.
so it's like, believe me, it's that much stuff I gotta say about him right now. And again, I was one of the few guys that was saying go get him before it was a thought. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
now I gotta eat crow. No pun intended. Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. Um, about Leon Rose, I don't know.
He said, yo, he said what he said? He said you're riding the what he said, you riding the wave of purgatory or something.
Something like that.
He said something. That was
Basically
a
saying,
bar right there, yo.
basically he was saying, I think he was saying, you keep riding this wave of before I got here, the team was
Yes.
bad. Now look at them. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what he was saying.
That was a
But
bar. He said you
yeah,
did great until you didn't.
right. And it goes back to, I think it's going to keep going back to what we say earlier. If the Knicks get eliminated by the Hawks, Leon Rose would have stopped the ascension by making that change because the Knicks were ascending. Every year they were getting better. going farther in the playoffs, right? Every year, right? Year one, they made the playoffs, got eliminated by the Hawks in the first round. Year two, they didn't make the playoffs, right? Derrick Rose got hurt, they had injuries, so on. They didn't make the playoffs. They just missed it. Year three, they go to the second round. Year four was the second round again.
Mm-hmm.
And then year five, they go to the Eastern Conference Finals, something like that, right? But it was a constant ascension, right? Just continuously ascending. And you, in the middle of that, you make a change, a large change that changes your entire culture, despite the fact, that every year, the coach that you just let go was dealing with a new starting lineup, was dealing with new bench players. Every single year, he got here and he had one team, took that team to the playoffs, right? The next year, you have a different point guard. Okay, and I'm not saying you're wrong for doing that. I'm just saying, right? You have a different point guard, um, and you have some lineup changes. I can't even go back and think about who it was, but we know we had some lineup changes. The year after that, Brunson comes in. Um, was it the year after that Brunson came in, or
Yeah.
was there another year in between?
No, it was the year after. He wasn't here for the Miami series.
So you had the first year when the Knicks made the playoffs, and then the next year they missed the playoffs,
And then Brunson came.
and then Brunson came the year after that. Okay, yeah. Because Randall's All NBA,
Mm-hmm.
didn't make All NBA, and then All NBA the year when Brunson came after the thumbs down. Yeah. Um, but there's a new roster then, right? So you got Brunson and Randall and RJ, right, and Mitch and Deuce. You got your roster, and then the next year, all of a sudden, quickly and RJ are gone and OG's here, right? So now that's another lineup change, and then last season, just before training camp, Randall gets
Cat.
traded for Cat, right? That's another big lineup change so every year there were lineup changes and the guys.
And he still lived up to or exceeded the what I mean, what was expected.
Right, right. And why was he able to do that? Because of a culture, because of standards, all these things that are in place. Similar to the Patriots with Bill Parcells, right? This is what we do. If you don't like it, don't be here. Similar to the Miami Heat with Eric Spoelstra. This is who we are and what we do.
Similar to Greg Popovich with the Spurs.
Greg Popovich with the Spurs. You know what I'm saying? So it feels like Leon Rose interrupted the ascension. If I mean Bill Belichick, yeah, Bill Belichick. I said Bill Parcells, Bill Belichick. You're right, Bill Belichick. Um, it feels like Leon Rose interrupted that ascension. You know what I'm saying? Um,
And it's crazy because I would have had an argument that he interrupted the ascension with the Randall trade. But
yes, I
but
agree.
Tibbs said, "Nah."
Ah,
You know what I mean? There's no interruption here. I'm gonna get us further.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like so, it's like you can't even. You still got to give Tibbs his credit,
Yep, yep. You still got to give it to him.
and you still got to revert that blame to Leon Rose. Like again, Leon Rose at this point is more to blame than Mike Brown. Mike Brown just walked into the situation. And if it wasn't Mike Brown, whoever the coach was at this point, if it wasn't him, they would have been in the same boat had they not succeeded or had they not excelled. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't matter who it was. It could have been Greg Popovich. You know what I mean? He would have been walking into the same type of pressure, the
Yeah,
same hot seat, the same expectation,
yeah,
the same lack of room for error.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's tough to really put a lot of that blame on Mike Brown, but that doesn't mean Stephen A is wrong when he
Yeah.
say heads will roll
Here-
and you may not be here.
yeah. Here's the biggest blame I think I put on Mike Brown. Like you mentioned Popovich. If Popovich would have came in and Leon Rose was like, play this guy, he'd have been like, go back up in the office and sit down. I'll play who I'm gonna play. I'm the coach.
Well. The,
You
the
know,
the problem is maybe Pop wouldn't have got hired because part of the
Mm,
hiring process
maybe.
was this collaboration,
That's true. Right. And Pop would have been like, well, if you're not gonna let me play
which
who I want
again
to
goes
play, it
back to Leon Rose.
goes back to Leon Rose. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
There's guys that turned down this job before Mike Brown got the job.
That's true.
Not guys under contract that didn't, you know what I mean? There's guys that turned down the job
True.
before Mike Brown got the
Well,
job.
Mike Brown got the job.
Why? I mean,
Yeah.
it might have been the
Yeah.
collaboration part.
Right. Right. You know what
I
I'm saying?
want
Because
to die on my own sword. You not, you know what
exactly,
I mean?
exactly. You know what I'm saying? Let me if I'm gonna fail, let me fail because I made the mistake. I'm gonna tell you what kind of players that I like, and I ask you to go out and get those players. Right? I mean, to me, that's how they're supposed to work in unison. You hired me because of my philosophy, not because of your philosophy. You hired me because of my philosophy. Right now, if my philosophy matches your philosophy, that's one thing. But still, you hired me because I'm the coach and I can do the job. Now, let me do my job, and I'm going to ask you, can you go get this kind of guy, this kind of guy, that kind of guy? And before you get those guys, please ask me, is this the kind of guy you want?
It's,
You know, do you want Jordan Clarkson, or do you want Landry Shamet, or do you want Alvarado? Like, who do you want?
and back to that whole collaboration thing. We seen what happened when Tibbs got players that weren't Tibbs players, and then when you know what happened when he got Tibbs type players.
Exactly.
We seen the difference.
You've seen it right off the bat.
We had a guy with potential and talent and upside in Cam Reddish, where the fan base, you know what I mean, loved the idea of who he could become.
Right.
And Tibbs was like, "That's not my type of guy."
That's not my guy. I didn't want him to
Then we
be
get a guy like Josh Hart, who is a Tibbs type of guy.
right. Or you get Derrick Rose and comes off the plane and plays 22 minutes or something like that off the plane. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I think as the front office, that's what you're supposed to do. All right. You know, if you're trying to build this team to win now, then you get that coach the type of players that they feel they need to win. If you're trying to build a team, you're a young team, and you're trying to build for the future, then you might get a coach that hasn't a young coach that maybe hasn't really established their philosophy yet, established their winning ways yet, and now you work in unison, right? Because you know you're trying to establish something with the team, and you now you know that coach is young and moldable. But I think when you're trying to win a championship, you go get a coach that knows how to do it, and you trust that coach's philosophy. You know, I don't know if they really are trusting, and maybe this is the entire problem. Maybe the whole thing is just Leon Rose, because if the players know that somebody else is calling the shots and saying, "Yo, you know, we want you to play these guys and these guys," and how much respect are they going to have for that guy, right? How much respect are they going to have for that guy if they feel like somebody else is calling the shots? If as much as some of the players may not have liked Thibodeau, I guarantee you they respected him.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot.
Guarantee.
I swear I did a show where I played the clip. I just can't remember who it was that said it. Was it Mike? I think it was Matt Barnes
Yeah,
talking about how, hey, the players is gonna walk all over him.
Yep.
They
Guys,
gonna walk like you know what I mean. That was fresh off the hire.
Yep.
The players are
I,
gonna walk up. The players don't respect him.
yep.
And he wasn't talking about the Knicks players. He was talking about players throughout the league
Right.
from his experience.
Yeah.
Oh man, let's finish let's finish this clip.
Finish this clip.
It's so much to talk about though. But
Yeah,
let's finish
it
this
is.
clip.
It's a
man.
lot.
Stephen A., where are you right now? Where are you?
I'm in the nation's
Drop your
capital,
location.
D.C.
Okay, good. I'm going to send my doctor to make sure your blood pressure is not too high. I'm going to send my doctor to D.C. to make sure you're good because you are sweating. You are sweating like it's Sunday, we're in church, okay? And you have every reason to sweat. The Knicks have given you every absolute reason. I feel for you. I want to give you a wellness check. There have been a number of red flags in this series. And unfortunately, it does start with the coach and some of the decisions. You have to give credit to Quinn Snyder. He is doing his thing. He's getting the most out of his squad, even considering the fact that Jalen Johnson hasn't had that signature game yet. CJ McCollum right now is having a renaissance. Meanwhile, New York Knicks, their players, some of them, as you mentioned, are regressing. Mikal Bridges being the most notable of them. But the thing that was the biggest red flag to me was listening to that sound afterward and saying, oh, well, it's okay. It's a 7-game series. The goal is for the series to be 4 games, 5 games, 6 max. It's not to rely on the fact that, oh, we can go the distance, because the New York Knicks had great aspirations. When we look at the season starting, we said this is the team, this is the time, most importantly, for them to get back to the NBA Finals. What year is it? 1973, right, Stephen A.? That's a lot of decades since they've had the opportunity to really bring some real peace to you, peace of mind. And instead, they're giving you pressure. They're giving you problems. The red flag being the matchup. I was watching this, particularly in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter. Karl Anthony Towns is being guarded by Jonathan Kuminga. And on paper, it's like the Spider-Man meme. It's that they're giving the same levels of production. Cat had a big game, obviously, but it just felt like those buckets that you could have gone to a center when you needed a good look. He was just standing out on the perimeter instead of being that beast and being that dog. How are you going to allow your 7-footer, your 6'10" guy, Karl Anthony Towns, the best self-proclaimed shooting big man, but also when he gets downhill, he's ferocious, to be guarded by Jonathan Kuminga? Jonathan had his forearm in his back, and he wasn't fighting back. To me, it was Cat. If he had more looks, more opportunities, they just looked at him like he's not an all-star or he's not an all-NBA player like we've seen the last few years. They looked to him as like, okay, he's an option and you need him to be a beast. That to me was a big red flag. And then also CJ McCollum. Think about, they're going toe-to-toe right now, CJ and Jalen Brunson. They had the adjustment of having Dyson Daniels guard Jalen Brunson, and I think they shot 3 for 13, the New York Knicks, when Dyson Daniels was defending. There are so many chess moves while the Knicks are playing checkers and saying it's a 7-game series that gave me cause for pause. I feel for New York, this is extremely frustrating.
I ain't rooting for Mike Brown to fail. I like Mike Brown. I love him as a person. I like him as a coach. My brother, you gonna hate me, y'all lose this series, because I ain't gonna have nothing nice to say about it. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And you know, the talking to the media and you nice and you a bit more personable than Tom Thibodeau. Give me that curmudgeon that is Tom Thibodeau. I'll take him any day of the week right now. This is unacceptable, okay? You got a situation where C.J. McCollum is looking like the second coming of Steph Curry when he wants to. How that happening? How's that happening? We got clutch time with him and Jalen Johnson shooting 75% from the field at clutch time in this series. Do you know that Karl Anthony Towns has attempted 1 shot in clutch time in this series? 1 shot. 1. That's unacceptable. Now, Mike Brown was brought here because you're supposed to infuse something a bit different and upgrade it offensively. We knew there was going to be sacrifices defensively because there's only one Tom Thibodeau. We understand that. Defensively, that's the master. But offensively, he was a bit challenged. That's supposed to be something that's alleviated by Mike Brown. That has not been the case. Why is this man gone? This man.
All right.
Oh, man. First of all, what I like is what's homegirl's name that was speaking.
Oh, I forgot her name. That quick.
What I like is she started with you know, giving Cat some responsibility. You got Kaminga in there with the forearm, and there's no resistance. You know what I mean? You're not fighting for position. You know what I mean? So she started there, which is great. But you gotta give him the ball. You gotta find him. And this is the main thing she said that really made me want to talk about this video was they treating him like he's not an all-star. Like he's not an all NBA guy. And to me, it goes back to that disrespect,
Yeah.
that undervalue.
Yeah.
The accolades are there, the skill is there. How are you not utilizing him?
Right. Right. Do you think Cat was treated like an all-star last year?
I I I thought he was underused last year as well, but there was no like the production was still there. Like he overcame his underusage last year,
Okay.
and he didn't speak about it. That's another thing that like he's been talking about it all year. So he obviously feels the difference between how he's being used this year and how he was being used last year. And I think last year, at least maybe not team wise, but between him and Brunson, there was more of an equal opportunity. You know what I mean? Or a my turn, your turn.
Right. Right.
This year, not so much.
Yeah. What was Cat's shot attempts last year? Let me see. Look, just want to look that up real quick because throughout the season, his shot attempts have just gone down. Right, they've been extremely low, in my opinion, for a player of his stature. Right. Um. Maybe I'm tripping. I mean, this season, 20 points, 11.9 rebounds per game. So last year, shot attempts. I mean, he's about 3 shot attempts less this year than last year.
East Blue Drew said now it's Brunson's turn all game. Instead of my turn, your turn.
Yeah. I mean, he is shooting 56.8% this year, which is better than he's shot since 2000. I mean, that's the best field goal percentage of his career.
Mm.
56.8%. I mean, he's averaging 11 rebounds this year. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Let me. This is playoffs. My bad. So last year in the playoffs, he averaged 15.8 field goal attempts per game. This year in the playoffs, he's averaging 12.3. And he's shooting 56.8% this year in the playoffs. Last year, he shot 48.8. And, every year prior to that, it was, in the 40s. Let's go regular season, though. Regular season, this year, he's shooting 13.8 shot attempts per game. Last year was 16.9.
Still about three.
About 3. But get this, he shot 52.6% from the field last year. He's shooting 50% this year. Not that 50% is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's shooting less shots, but he's shooting a little bit worse. He shot 42% from 3 last year, taking 4.7 3-point attempts per game. He's taking 36. He's shooting 36.8% from the 3-point line this year.
And shooting less per game, right?
And shooting, yeah, he's shooting 4.1.
Oh, okay.
3-point attempts per game.
Don't feel that way.
Yeah, don't. Of course, he played 4 less minutes this year. I'm sorry. Yeah, he played 4 less minutes per game this year than last year. Last year, he averaged 35 minutes per game. Everybody, lost their shit. Thought, oh my God, he's playing 35 minutes a game. right? This year he's playing 31 minutes per game. You know, so you know,
Um, and
yeah,
you good with the video. We could take that off and close out. But and people that think Stephen A. went nuts on the Knicks on ESPN. I ain't even finished listening to it, but on his personal YouTube channel,
hmm
it's a little worse. He went a little crazier. You know
yeah,
what I mean? And I don't usually advocate for Stephen A. I don't usually agree with what he's saying, but he's spot on. It's almost like you know what I mean? He's reading the fan mail of Knicks fans or something, because
yeah,
he's spot on right now.
yeah. He is. You know, so I don't know. I know you don't want to get into Macau too much, but let's just talk about. I just want to ask you about lineups.
Hmm. I was
Um,
going there too. So
okay, East Blues Drew said Deuce also better start tomorrow. Macau got got the the Ben Simmons Nick Richardson disease. Um, what do you think?
the crazy thing is, at one point I was like, "Oh, why?" I don't know if I do. All right, this is the main reason I wouldn't change the starting lineup is what does that do for Atlanta's psyche? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like that's what I said yesterday. Like they gonna look at it like, oh, all right, they making changes. We got them. You know what I mean? Like
right.
um, the other thought process was, what does it do for Mikel?
Yeah,
But to be honest, he can't get no worse. Like there's no, you can't score less than 0 points in the game.
yeah,
You know what I mean? So it don't matter what it do to Mikel, because he can't be worse than he was. And historically, last year, this year, Deuce in the lineup with the starters has been our best lineups.
yeah,
So it used to be the argument of take Josh Hart out,
yep,
put Deuce in. You know what I mean? But especially last year's data, it didn't matter who you replaced Deuce with. Deuce in the starting lineup, minus anybody else, was one of our best lineups.
right.
So if they're gonna make a change, that would be the one. Um, I don't think they go to the Mitchell Robinson double big starting lineup, because that would be a remnant of the change that Thibodeau made.
Yeah,
So
and
I don't think you want to relive that. So I think just because of that, you can't go make the same change that Tibbs made, that was frowned upon last year, because it was like, oh, why'd you wait so long? You know what I mean? And now you're gonna go and do the same change in a desperation situation. So I
right.
don't think the Mitchell Robinson move is the move. I think if there's a move, it is
Yeah, and
Deuce.
Mike Brown was asked that I think today about why he hasn't played that lineup more together, and he said that he believes it provides basically it's a mismatch defensively.
Mm.
He said, if you had that lineup, let's say hypothetically speaking, Mitch guards Okongwu, Cat guards. I think he said Jalen Johnson, Brunson on Daniel Dyson, OG on Nikhil, and Josh Hart on CJ. Maybe I'm missing McCall on somebody. Oh no, I guess that would be taking McCall out the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Um, I guess he was saying that there would be a mismatch there.
for
right?
the against the Knicks,
Against right.
a
So
disadvantage for the Knicks.
Jalen Johnson being able to, take it to Cat.
I mean, no matter your starting lineup, you got to find a way to offset. Whether it's Cat or Brunson or whoever. I mean, you got to find a way to offset things anyway. So why not have Cat on the Congo? Why not? You know what I mean? Not saying it's ideal to have Mitch on Johnson, but why not try it? Why not put Mitch on Dyson Daniels? That's what you do when he's in the lineup anyway.
Right.
I mean, I mean, he got his answers. He the coach, but it still needs to be utilized more. I think.
Do you think that makes him like compromising to the other team, compromising to the opponent? I mean, he's using the same starting lineup he's used all year, so I don't know if that would be compromising to the opponent. I guess people would argue that using Mitch, using the double big, starting the double big, whatever, gives us the advantage because Atlanta is small. And so because you're not doing that, you're compromising to the other opponent, to the opponent.
Honestly, before the series started, I had a thought process. I didn't think it would happen, so I don't know if I even spoke it out loud, but I had a thought process of starting a double big or using a double big lineup more and giving Huck Porty an opportunity. Because again, to me, certain teams, I don't think you attack every team the same way. And this team in particular, we got to utilize our size.
Right.
We got to use like they're not strong at the center position. You got to beat them up. You gotta beat them up to the point where by the end of the game, you know what I mean. They don't have the energy to finish a game, and I don't think we've utilized any of our strengths.
Right.
And they, on the other hand, focus on their strengths. That's how they beating us with their strengths.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Sim, I know you gonna love this one.
Yeah, hey, you already know. You already know. You know what I'm saying? I'm with that 100%. 100%.
Sim been calling for zone for 5 years.
For real. And not the whole game, just a little bit.
Mix it up.
You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit. Mix it up. Right. Mix it up. Yeah. It's,
Yeah,
I thought Mike Brown was going to play more zone.
shit. We thought a lot of things was coming
Right.
with Mike Brown.
Exactly.
Is there any wild cards? And I don't mean like a player. It could be a player, but anything that you see Mike Brown doing that we haven't seen in these first 3 games, that could be a wild card for us. That could shit at this point change turn the series around, right? And it could be something we talked about or not. You know what I mean. I was referring to something we didn't talk about, but if it if it if it's still get the ball to Cat, it is what it is.
Yeah. I don't know if there's an X factor, man. I mean, the games have all been tight, even when we haven't played well. You know what I'm saying? The games have been tight. I think it's us, you know, just utilizing the right mismatches, Cat, making the right decisions, and we can still win the series.
Do you trust the advice coming from a Hawks fan?
Coming from a Hawks fan. What'd he
He,
say?
s- he said y'all need to play Mo Diawara in the series.
I
I ain't
mean,
gonna lie. I've been saying match him up with Kaminga anyway.
you
I
know,
mean,
I
at
don't
least
think
to
Mo
try
would
it.
hurt us. I don't think Mo would hurt us. You know what I'm saying? He might provide some energy. You know what I'm saying? A spark that we need. So yeah, I trust what he's saying.
Shout out to him too, man. Appreciate you listening. I know you having a blast hearing us
I
wallowing
know
in
he
our
is right.
sorrows.
I know he's probably got a podcast. He's gonna go back and these Knicks fans they think this, that, and the third. That's what he's gonna do. Yeah,
but
that's probably what he's thinking. Yeah, we're gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and talk about this on my podcast. But
but
I mean, look, he says he could pick up CJ full court. Maybe.
and we
Possible.
haven't had sides on CJ.
It's
Like
possible.
if there's one thing CJ's been able to do is shoot over most of our defenders, whether
Yeah.
it's Brunson, whether it's McBride. Obviously he got the shot over Hart to end the game.
I guess what I would be concerned about is when they start running some pick and roll, when is he how's he do in that department? You know what I'm saying? No, no.
um, you bringing the pregame pod back, or we going right to the
Tomorrow,
post game?
I don't know. I don't know. I got a training I got to do all day tomorrow, so I'm not. I guess I'll see after the training how I'm feeling after that training. Game is at
Yeah,
six
well,
o'clock tomorrow. I might try to get a pregame pod in.
give me a call. I'm down for it. If not, I'll see you on the post game.
Yeah. You,
Uh,
you, you know what's
game four.
crazy about these last few shows, man, is they feel like shows way back when the Knicks were, getting 17 wins, 21 wins. Feels like these are the kind of shows it feels like. Long shows we've been on for almost 2 hours. We was on for almost 2 hours last night.
Bro, I ain't gonna front. This is the most like nicks and bruises that I've felt
Yeah,
in a long time. You know what I mean? Like the thing that started this channel, the feelings that started this channel have resurfaced. But but the way I felt starting the channel and the growth that we had as a team, yeah, we I agree. This is
yeah,
how it feels. It feels
yeah,
like the dark days.
yeah.
And it shouldn't. There's no reason it should. You know why though? Because like you said, we were progressing. We were constantly elevating year by year. And if things don't go the way they should go, we know it's a turn. It's a turning point now.
Right,
You know what I mean? It's not. You can't even really look forward to next year because you have no idea where it's going.
right.
It could go a plethora of different ways.
Yeah.
My last point is I'm gonna just throw it out there because it's been on my heart heavy. I feel like we about to lose Mitchell Robinson too.
Mm.
I, I,
You
but
mean next season?
I do, I do, and a lot of that honestly is based off of last game and his lack of usage as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Because if it's one thing you're not going to double big, but I think his minutes was super low, maybe 18 or something.
Right.
And again, the weapons I feel like we have against the Hawks is Cat, Mitchell Robinson, OG.
Right. Yeah. Cat, Mitchell Robinson, OG all have size that can't be stopped. Yeah.
All right, so man, I appreciate you, man. This is
No problem,
one of
man.
my great shows, or one of my better shows. I feel like appreciate the the chat and their engagement. You know what I mean? They turned out tonight, and yeah, man. Let's get this win tomorrow. Hopefully, we get a post game show. Hopefully, the energy is a little bit better and it's not as concerning. But
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
tomorrow's a big day, yo.
Oh, man.
Tomorrow's
It
a big
feel
day.
it is it feel like we on the brink, right?
Yeah.
They still
Feels
got to win too.
still
You
gotta
know what I
win.
mean? But
Yeah.
it
Feels like
feel
it.
like it's an elimination game.
It sure
Like
does.
that's crazy.
Crazy. My puppy was looking at me like I was nuts last night because he never heard me screaming like that. He was like, "What the hell is wrong with this dude?" He was running away from me. He was running
Oh
away
man.
from me like, "Yo, I don't know. I
Who
don't
is
know.
this
This dude
guy?
is crazy."
Oh man. All right, man.
Yeah,
Shout out to the chat. Sim, I appreciate you.
no doubt.
Hit me up tomorrow. Let me know what we're doing.
Sure. For sure.
Until next time, your blackest time. We out of here, man.
Peace.